Started. My name is JP Stradzinski. I'm the state representative for the 112th district, including Monroe, which is in the 4th Congressional. And we are going to get started in a few minutes. We'll go through everything. And while we're waiting, if I could just say that obviously this is all very new to all of us. And even those of us who have been doing conventions and political type things for years, this is unheard of and this is unprecedented. So on behalf of the rest of the leadership of this convention and the CTGOP, I just ask for your patience, your cooperation. I assure you that this will be a fair and well-balanced event. We just need to make sure that we are patient and we work through this as much as possible, especially since I'm working off my iPhone and I am doing the best I can to see everything, but I need to keep going back and forth to the chat. And speaking of that, we have 164 people logged in. 165 as of right now. So, and I see that our Rules Committee Chairman has joined us, Mr. Dudakis, so thank you. Glad you're here. We'll give it a few more minutes and then we will get started. Alrighty. I see that we have someone who is trying to ask a question, and I am looking at doing that right now. It's Barry Weston. I am asking if there is a question for us. We have 168 people in, so we're about 30 from what we expect, but we will get started very soon. One of the questions that I'm looking at says, it's from Harry Aurora, asking if we're going to do a roll call at the start of the convention. And my understanding is that we will not, that there will be a report from the Credentials Committee as opposed to a roll call.
On the question of a roll call, JP, we will know because everybody has an individual login.
Yes, Terry. Thank you very much for pointing that out. I was going to say that, but I was looking at something else. Everyone has an individual login. So I wanted to make sure that there was no issue there, but Harry Aurora he said thank you, so we're good. And Gail Lavielle is just saying hi. Well, hello, Gail. Nice to see you or hear from you or whatever this is. Barry Weston, do you have a question? If so, just type it in the chat. It's going to all of us at once in some sort of like a reply all type system. And we do have 169 participants on the call. All right. So if you do have questions, keep asking or do what you need to do to get them to us. We have a couple. So it says Tom Lombardo can't get on. I'm not sure who can help us with that. Barry Weston's question that Tom Lombardo can't get on. We're going to progress with the...
Tom, they also cannot get in.
They can also dial in if they can't get on their computers. They can dial in from their phones.
And what I did was I copied the link and pasted it in the join meeting on Ring Central, and that brought me in. So sometimes when you press the link, it doesn't bring you in.
Good to know. Thank you, Ed.
Of course, we're telling all the people who are already in.
All right, so keep the questions coming, but we're going to get this started. We're going to do our best to answer your questions. I can assure you that no one's going to get ignored. Welcome. The 2020 4th Congressional Convention is now called to order. My name is JP Stradzinski. I am the temporary chairman for this convention. The chair now recognizes Kelly Striniti for the purpose of reading the call for convention. Kelly.
Good evening, everybody. Republican delegates from the state of Connecticut, in accordance with the rules of the Connecticut Republican Party adopted by the 2018 Connecticut State Republican Convention on May 11, 2018 at Foxwoods Casino, are hereby called to assemble at a congressional convention of delegated representatives of local town committees convened via Ring Central on Wednesday, May 13, 2020, for the purpose of nominating a candidate for the 4th Congressional District, United States Congress.
Thank you, Kelly. I'd like to introduce you all to the committee chairman and the temporary officers. Congressional Temporary Secretary, Kelly Striniti. Congressional Rules Chairman, Ed Didakis. Congressional Permanent Organization Chairman, Jason Perillo. Congressional Credentials Committee Chairman, Terry Wood. First, some housekeeping. Should you wish to be recognized by myself, the chair, please raise your virtual hand or send a chat to the participants. We're going to get to them as soon as we can, try to respond to them as fast as we can, and I will assure you we will not leave you hanging. I see a bunch of questions coming through, and I also see people are getting answers, so we'll do our best to keep track of those. As delegates, you will be able to see the officers of this convention and anyone giving a nominating or a seconding speech. Do not worry if you are not able to see yourself or the other delegates. There is almost 200 people on this call right now, so that would get a little much. Now we are going to take up the report of the Credentials Committee, and to do so, I'd like to introduce Representative Terry Wood from Darien, the chairman of the Credentials Committee, to present the committee's report. Terry?
Yes, thank you, JP. So, Mr. Chairman, there are 189 number of selected delegates present. I think we're waiting for that final tally. If we can get that from Rebecca, we've got 172 right now I see on the screen. And there are 6 duly appointed alternates, bringing the total number of delegates to 179 to the convention. Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of the temporary roll. Now, I do have a question, JP. I don't know. We have 189 who are logged in as attending. I don't know at what point we certify that it's what the number is.
You can certify the number we talked about that you and Maria voted on before the meeting started.
Okay,
So
perfect.
the people registered.
Great. Mr. Chairman, there are 189 number of selected delegates present, 6 number of duly appointed alternates, bringing the total number of delegates at the convention to 195. Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of the temporary roll.
Without objection, the previous question is ordered. The question is on the table for adoption of the resolution. Will you remark? Will you remark? If you want to remark, send a chat or raise your hand. I'm doing my best to try to see if there are any hands up. I'm not seeing any. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by raising your virtual hand. Those opposed, raise your virtual hand. From what I can tell, in the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the roll is adopted. The chair now recognizes Representative Jason Perillo of Shelton, the chairman of the Committee on Permanent Organization.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegates and guests, I have the pleasure to present to you the report of the Committee on Permanent Organization. The committee met last week to discuss our mission of recommending to the convention the slate of permanent officers for the 2020 Connecticut Republican Convention. The committee unanimously adopted as its report the full list of recommended permanent officers and recommends that the permanent chairman of this congressional convention be J.P. Straczynski. The committee further recommends that Kelly Striniti be entered into the record of this convention as the permanent secretary. Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of the resolution.
Without objection, the previous question is ordered. The question is on the table for adoption of the resolution. Will you remark? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your virtual hand. Those opposed signify by raising your virtual hand. In the opinion of the chair, from what I can tell, the ayes have it and the permanent officers are adopted. Thank you for your confidence. Now I'd like to welcome Chairman of the Committee on Rules, Ed Didakis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, delegates. The Rules Committee met last week, consisting of Andy Wainwright of Stamford and Alan Levy of Westport. And we have put together a resolution and asked for its immediate consideration. The report on the Committee on Rules and order of business has been distributed on the web, and all delegates should have seen it. These rules will provide a stronger governing framework for our convention under very unique circumstances, and also for our party. Mr. Chairman, I move the adoption of the resolution.
Thank you. Without objection, the previous question is ordered. The question is on the table for adoption of the resolution. Will you remark? Will you remark? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by raising your virtual hand. Those opposed signify by raising your virtual hand. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the rules are adopted. Thank you. As prescribed under the rules that we just adopted, the total time for nominating speeches shall not exceed 2 minutes, and the seconding speeches for any candidate shall not exceed 1 minute. At this time, for the purpose of a nomination, the chair recognizes John Rodriguez. Once again, for the purposes of a nomination, the chair recognizes John Rodriguez. All right, seeing that John is not here, I'm going to call on Representative Gail Lavielle. I know that her intention was to do a second. However, in the absence of John Rodriguez, I'm not sure if she's willing to do a nomination speech. Gail, are you on?
JP, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Gail.
I wasn't aware I was speaking at all at this convention.
Fair enough. We will move on then. Thank you for your honesty, Gail. I appreciate it. Moving on, for the purposes of a nomination, the chair recognizes Dan Quigley. Dan Quigley, are you on? One more call for Dan Quigley. I understand he's having some difficulty logging in. Completely understandable. What I will do is I will move on to Nisha Aurora. I know that her intention was to do a seconding speech. However, in the absence of Mr. Quigley, perhaps she'd be willing to do a nomination. Nisha Aurora, are you on? Nisha Aurora, I think I saw a notification that you signed on.
Can you hear me?
Okay, is that you, Nisha?
It is.
All right, Nisha. The floor is yours, Nisha. You have 2 minutes for a nominating speech.
Thanks, JP. Again, I wasn't prepared for a speech, but I'm happy to say a few words in favor of Dr. Michael Goldstein, who is running as a candidate for the 4th Congressional District. I had a chance to know Michael over the past year, met him first time at the annual Republican dinner last year, him and his wife, and he first expressed interest and asked me my insights into the congressional race from when Harry ran. Michael's a great guy. He represents, his family has been in Greenwich for a while. He represents conservative values that I believe in. And I've had maybe about 10 to 15 conversations with him in the past year. He's strongly committed to running this race and giving it a good go. And I think he represents the Republican Party really well. And I am happy to, I guess, nominate or second or whatever I'm doing right now in favor of Michael Goldstein.
Okay, there is a nomination on the floor for Michael Goldstein. Is there a second? Is there a second for Michael Goldstein? I understand that we may have to. Okay, so I have a second from James Suvlis and a Mr. Dew. And so I just want to confirm that they are, yes, we are. We do have a second. No speech is required. It was just that if they were going to give a speech, it'd be limited to a minute. So we have a nomination and a second for Michael Goldstein. Moving on, I'd like to recognize Alex Plitzas for a nomination.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Good evening, fellow Republicans. It's my privilege this evening to nominate Jonathan Riddle to become the next Republican nominee and hopefully United States Congressman from the 4th District here in Connecticut. I've known Jonathan for almost 15 years. He was a few years behind me at Archbishop Stepinac High School. I've known him to be a man of character and conviction, and I'm truly thrilled to see that he's moved into Connecticut as I have, and he's chosen to embrace politics and certainly our Republican ideals. So since leaving Stepinac, John has become quite a accomplished young man, and now as an adult. So he decided to major in finance. He studied at Iona College, where he was also a Division I athlete, and he has spent the better part of the last decade plus working in the finance community, basically doing private wealth management and private banking. I was hoping to really steal some thunder today, but apparently there were a couple of folks who got out in front of me. So I was informed shortly before this that both John Fry and Leora Levy have endorsed Jonathan, which is great news. So what I can say about Jonathan is that he is someone who's well-rounded. He is not a single issue voter or somebody who's been motivated as such. He's got a well-rounded depth and grasp of the policy issues that are at hand, and he's someone that I think we can count on in Washington. He's not somebody who's looking for a one-time wonder. This is somebody who I think will be in our community for quite some time. He's a Norwalk resident. He is out there in the community, and he's someone who has really lent himself to seek to understand others as opposed to seeking to be understood. And in terms of his policies and where he stands, I mean, you can go into depth on his website. It's across the board. He really is seeking to level the playing field for everyone here and doing so while representing Republican values. So it's an absolute pleasure to nominate Jonathan this evening, a friend and someone I hope we'll be seeing many more times in the future as a member of Congress, and the future is bright. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Plitzas. For the purposes of a second, the chair recognizes Andy Wainwright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir. Go ahead.
Great. I gladly second the nomination of Jonathan Riddle for the 4th District. There's a lot to like about him and what he brings as a candidate. When we met, I met him in January of this year at the Sugar Bowl in Darien. We had a breakfast together, and he was, what I liked most about him, he's willing to take an unorthodox approach to this campaign rather than charging the commanding heights of our enemy, which we've witnessed cycle after cycle of where that's gotten us. It's kind of like Groundhog Day, returning every 2 years. Jonathan also knows that Jim Himes is vulnerable on the issue of China, which our president has single-handedly created a paradigm shift. We didn't have that issue previously. It's something I believe that transcends both all political parties, political ideologies. And I think it's something that Jonathan is willing to go and enthusiastically attack Jim Himes on, and that he's part of Goldman Sachs and Harvard and everything like that. But I also was inspired by Leora and John Fry's endorsement this morning, and I'm encouraging everyone to vote for Jonathan and take the fight to Jim Himes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Moving on, for the purposes of a nomination, the chair recognizes Vince Caprio. Vince Caprio, please.
Can everyone hear me?
Loud and clear, sir. Go ahead, Ben.
Good. I nominate Joseph Eleni to be a candidate for Congress from the 4th Congressional District. Joe has lived in Norwalk for the past 9 years. He's a certified public accountant. He has a master's degree in finance from Seton Hall University. Joe, as I am a lifelong Republican. I met Joe 40 years ago working on the Reagan campaign. Joe in New Jersey, he was living. He served 12 years in elective office as city councilman. He won 4 elections. During that time, he received an editorial endorsement from the Bergen Record, the second largest newspaper in New Jersey. He won those offices in a traditionally Democratic city. They qualified the endorsement of Joe by saying, even though he was a conservative, he cares a lot about people. He's qualified and he's accomplished a lot during his time in office. Once again, Joe is a lifelong Reagan Republican. Joe's first job out of college was with Ernst & Young, one of the world's largest CPA firms. He was with them for 6 years. He was a chief financial officer. He traveled extensively in the United States, many countries in Europe, and in Australia. He served 6 years in the United States Air Force Reserve. He was in active duty in New Jersey, Texas, Massachusetts, South Carolina. Joe has held, as I said, elective Republican office before. I've known Joe for 40 years. He'll work very hard on the election. He's a proven Republican vote getter, and I nominate Joe for the Congressional District. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caprio, for your nomination. For Mr. Villani, if I can acknowledge Ray Martin for a second. Ray Martin, are you on? If not, is there any second to the nomination? Do we have any second to the nomination of Joe Villani? And I apologize if I don't pronounce that right. I know a few Villanis, and that's how they. Okay, I'm looking at least 2 people seconding. One is Warren and another person. So it is under the opinion of the chair that we have a valid nomination and second for Mr. Villani. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Please either raise your hand or type in a chat that you wish to be recognized for a nomination. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing and seeing none, since more than one nomination has been made in accordance with the rules of this convention, delegates will soon receive a poll to cast their ballot.
Mr. Chairman, point of order. Ed Dudakis.
Mr. Dudakis, go ahead.
I'm getting a lot of text messages from people who cannot sign in. Is there a dial-in option? They just can't see, the link doesn't work for them.
There's no dial-in, only because all of the votes have to be cast through the online platform.
Okay, so they're just out of luck. Okay, thank you.
For those of you who don't know, that's Rebecca Michelin. She is the executive director of the CTGOP. She's not a delegate, but she is assisting us with the technology part of this. And her response was that because we need these to be very organized and the votes need to be cast in a very confidential, private way, we need to do this in a secure manner, and thus the reason for no dial-in being available. So, hearing no.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. If you send me the names of the people, I can resend them. I've been resending to anybody, resending the confirmation email with the link to anybody who needs it.
Yeah, I've got Livy Florin, Dan Quigley, and Tom Lombardo.
I've sent them all multiple times.
They just can't get in. They're talking about they need a participants code.
They should not, no. They've been approved. The participants code was something that we used to make sure they were who they were. I've sent them, all 3 of them, their confirmation emails, but I'll send them again.
Okay. All right, we can do what we can do.
All right, so there was a
Thank you.
question from Suzanne Testani that I saw asking if votes could be texted in. And I'm not sure if that's addressed in the rules. Mr. Dudakis, do you know if texting your vote in is eligible here as a part of the vote?
We did not address texting as an option to vote. We did give you, Mr. Chairman, the ability to extend the voting time by 5 minutes, but that's not specifically in the rules. I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if you think it's appropriate for the convention to take that matter up.
I think at this point, as the chairman, I intend to keep the ballot open for 5 minutes as dictated by the rules, and then certainly for more time, given the technological difficulties that we face. So I'm gonna, at this point,
JP, Mr. Chairman?
yes, yes, Terry.
Why don't we wait, give another 5 minutes in addition to that for people to try and get in?
Okay, so is there, so if hearing no objection, the convention will stand at ease while we work out some of these technical problems.
Thank you. Good plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, okay. Rebecca?
Yes, Terry.
Okay. I've got a bunch of texts have just come in. Let me get who's, I've got Jim DeMark needs another link.
Terry, can you hold on? We're trying to solve some of the problems for the people on the phones.
Okay, thanks.
The convention will come back to order. After some discussion, obviously we know that there's some technical issues and that there are some people that are unable to reach this convention for whatever reason. For those who are unable to reach this convention via this platform, there is a phone number that will be listed in the chat for anyone that's here. So for example, Mr. Didakis, I know you had several people reach out to you saying they couldn't get on. There will be a phone number in the chat that you can share with those people. And that phone number will be allowed for voting as long as it's done verbally over the phone. And keep in mind, this is reserved only for those who cannot access this system whatsoever. If you can hear my voice, if you can see me, then there is no need to call in. Your vote will be recorded via the app, via the technology and the platform we have. This phone number that's going to be in the chat is exclusively for people who are not able to access this system in any way. So moving on, let me just start this paragraph over again to make sure I get it right. Since there were no other nominations, and since that we have more than one nomination, in accordance with the rules of the convention, delegates will soon receive a poll to cast their ballot. We will have balloting open for 5 minutes to allow for those sharing a device each to cast in a ballot. What this means is you have to cast your ballot, log off, have your other person log in, and cast your ballot to ensure security. We will be voting for the next 5 minutes. You can keep questions and chats coming, and we will do our best to get to every single one of them. At the end of that 5 minutes, I have the ability to extend it another 5 minutes. And if we see that that is needed, we will absolutely do that. I want to make sure that everyone's vote is counted. With that being said, we will stand at ease while voting takes place.
We're up to 187, so there are only 2 outstanding delegates. And I'm not sure about the alternates. So we're pretty close to the total.
Thank you, Terry Wood, for that update. I know that on my screen, I had a poll pop up where I had to click on one of the names. And so I'm hoping that everyone else did that as well. If there are issues, we will do our best to make sure that we can get them out there. I saw a couple of questions, people may have clicked the wrong button or have pressed something inadvertently. So if that's the case, we will make sure that those are possibly done. And also there was a question that came up about why are the candidates speaking? And I just wanted to let you know that the motion, the nomination, and the second was the candidate's ability to get their message out there, and the candidate who receives the endorsement tonight will have the ability to address this convention.
Dave Retigliano cast a vote for Jonathan Riddle. Yep, go ahead. What's your name?
Okay, I'm Marion Callow. I have not.
Wait, I'm sorry. What's your last name?
Callo. I
She's from
haven't
Monroe.
hear anything. I could just see it. Is there a way I can hear it through the phone?
No, Marion. You can call and you can cast your ballot right now. Who do you vote for?
I did that already.
You did that already on the phone? Okay, then you're all set.
On the phone, on the
Yeah, you
screen,
did
I
that on the
can see
computer.
it.
Yep, you're all set. As long as you hit submit, you're all set.
Can
Okay,
someone
but I
tell
see
me,
what's going on?
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
can someone tell me the number that people need to call because I'm getting frozen out?
You're taking a vote?
Yes, who do you vote for? Well, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Christina Ross.
Long?
No, Christina Aguirre-Ross, Aguirre-Ross.
I don't see, Christina, did you register?
No.
Then you are not officially eligible to vote.
Registered as a registered voter, I am.
No, to register for the convention.
No.
No, so I can't accept your vote. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Hello?
Oh, I'm sorry, I got the wrong number.
Hello?
Connecticut, I'm a delegate.
I'm sorry, say your name again. I'm sorry, say your name again.
It's John Rodriguez.
Okay.
From Bridgeport.
All right, John, and who do you vote for?
E.T. Elgin.
He has not been nominated.
I would like to nominate him then, if that's the case.
The nominations have been closed.
Well, I've been on this, I've been trying to get through, and I cannot get through. And Mike just gave me the number. I've been trying for the last 45 minutes. I started at 6:40, and I could not get through. I'm still trying to get through with the computer. For some reason, we can't get through.
Did you download Ring Central meetings?
I did everything that I'm supposed to do. Receive your email. Thank you so much.
Hello?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, how are you?
Great. I don't know if this thing working out at all on any devices.
Okay, this is Dan Quigley.
Yeah.
And Dan, who do you vote for?
Michael Goldstein.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello?
Rebecca?
Yes.
Tony Wong?
Yes.
I apologize for being late, but nevertheless, I didn't get any confirmation after I registered. So,
Okay.
what can I do to help?
You are all set. You're registered. Just tell me who you're going to vote for.
Mr. Riddle.
Okay, thank you. Hello?
Registration is pending approval.
What's your name?
Nicole Pate, P-A-T-E.
You registered after 7 o'clock today. I can't accept your I can't accept your vote.
It was before 7.
Registration date says May 13th at 7:05 p.m.
Did everyone tell them? I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just to jump in quickly, this is the chair, JP Strudzinski. I just wanted to say we've reached our 5-minute limit. However, given the circumstances, I'm certainly going to allow for another 5 minutes at the minimum to try to get all the ballots cast. So we're going to stand at ease for the next 5 minutes.
Yes.
Hi, it's Livy, and I just wanted to make sure that you got my vote for Mike Goldstein.
Olivia, did you put it in the chat already? Did you put it in the are you able to log in?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
And I
and you
voted
voted?
online, but I just wanted to make sure you saw it.
Yep, you're all set. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, sweetie. Thanks.
Hello?
Hi. I'm calling back because I tried at 6:40 and I was told my registration didn't get until 7:05, but I was trying at 6:40.
Hello?
Yeah, I want to cast the vote.
And what's your name?
George Temple.
Okay, George, and who do you vote for?
I'm sorry, Goldstein.
Okay, thank you. Hello?
Anglace from Shelton.
I'm sorry, what, your name again?
John Anglace, Anglace.
Okay. A-N-G. Okay, John, and how do you vote?
Michael Goldstein.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so I'm being told that there has been 180 votes cast as of right now. 180 votes have been cast, and I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with this group. I know that there's been some issues and some technical problems, but to get 180 out of the 195 that were initially certified is good. We still have a little over a minute left, so if you have not cast your ballot, please do so. We're waiting for about 12 to 15 people. So keep them coming. And if you have any issues, please let us know. Either raise your hand, send us a message in the chat, or call that number that was provided. I want to make sure that everyone has their voice heard today. So we're going to keep it open for a little bit longer and make sure that we have an accurate vote. Thank you all.
So we had Eric McPherson for Goldstein, Alex Davidson for Goldstein, and Linda Mosier for Riddle. Hello?
Rebecca,
Yes.
check it just to make sure my vote counted.
If you click submit on the screen, your vote absolutely counted.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, just going through the list of attendees, there is one person with his hand up, Mr. Simonetti from Shelton. I sent you a message in the chat. If you have anything that you need, any questions, it looks like you're muted at this point. Please let us know. Send us a message in the chat, and you will be recognized.
Hello.
Further, we have a hand up from a Fritz Blau. Mr. Blau, Mrs. Blau, Fritz, if you have any questions for the group, please let us know. Okay, I'm receiving a report that we have 185 votes in and counted. We have had the vote open for 16 minutes as of now, which is obviously 5 minutes past the longer time. So the 16 minutes have been in. So with 185 votes, I am comfortable with closing the ballot, but I do need a motion. So I will entertain a motion to close balloting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
And seconded, JP.
The question is on closing the balloting for the United States Congress. Will you remark? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by raising your virtual hand. Those opposed, please signify by raising your virtual hand. And from what I can tell, in the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ballot is now closed. The convention will stand at ease while the tally is calculated.
Oh, yeah. What's going on? I don't understand what's going on. Is it over?
The convention is not over. We are waiting for the final vote tally to be run so we can move on to the closing portion of our convention. Just bear with us a few more minutes just to make sure that we have the votes tallied and that we're ready to announce the nominee. While we're waiting, I just wanted to acknowledge the committee chairs of this convention and thank the staff of the Connecticut GOP. Rebecca, JR, thank you for your work on this. As I mentioned at the beginning of this is it's a whole new world for us. And even though some of us have been doing this for a long time, this is very new. And I know that it wasn't perfect. There were issues, but we did the best we could. And having 185 votes tallied out of 195 of the people who were initially registered. I just want to say I'm very proud of my 4th Congressional District delegates today. So with that being said, the convention will come back to order. Jonathan Riddle has received the majority of the votes and is the Republican Party's endorsed candidate for the office of United States Congress in the 4th Congressional District. At this time, if Mr. Riddle is on, first, I'd like to announce the vote tally. It was 81 votes for Mr. Goldstein, 97 votes for Mr. Riddle, and 4 for Mr. Villani. With that, Mr. Riddle was able to capture 52% of the vote, making him the winner of this convention. If Mr. Riddle is on, I would invite him to address this convention. Mr. Riddle.
I'm here. And thank you very much for the support and faith. I'm thoroughly excited to represent the 4th District. This is a very exciting day for me. I know that when we bring all 17 towns together and with the wave of change that is sweeping this nation, we're going to work diligently to unseat Jim Himes and bring back the 4th District to the Republican Party. This is a campaign that will launch the change Connecticut needs and usher in a new era to bring back jobs, stop the flee of businesses that we've all seen happening and residents, and make Connecticut a prosperous state it can and used to be. Thank you again for your support and vote of confidence. And I look forward to taking the fight to Jim Himes and delivering a knockout punch for all of you and fighting until the end. I know we can do it. And with your support and backing, we can definitely get this done. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle, for your words, and we all wish you the best. And I know that you're going to have a lot of support from us going forward. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn sine die. The question is on adjournment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Terry Wood. Is there a second?
Second.
I see a lot of seconds coming through. Special thanks to Representative O'Day, who's tried to second a bunch of stuff today. That being said, will you remark on the question of adjournment? Will you remark? Seeing none, all those in favor of adjournment signify by raising your virtual hand. Those opposed, please signify by raising your virtual hand. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The convention stands adjourned sine die. Have a good night, everybody.